Alright, in the last video we created our base plugin structure. We created all the files, and we also created our main index file, okay, which is the contact widget.php file. Now what I want to do is create the contact class, or the contact widget class, which we've created the file for. So now we would just want to add the class. So we're going to say PHP class, and you want this to be the same name as your files, or the widget name. In this case is contact widget, and you need to extend WordPress widget. Alright, and you can see a good example of this in the widgets API help document. You can see here the construct. We're going to set all these up, the widget, form, and update. So these are the main functions or the main methods of our class. Okay, so the first one is going to be our constructor. Okay, so we'll say public function __ construct, and we've dealt with this in past projects. Okay, so the constructor runs automatically when a class, when an object of a class is initialized. Okay, so in the construct, it's very important that we load the parent construct. So I'm going to say parent construct. All right, and we're going to have a bunch of stuff inside of here. Okay, so the first one is going to be the base ID, which is going to be contact widget. Okay, so we'll do contact _widget. Alright, and now we want to specify, we want to say __ parentheses, and then the readable title that we want for the plugin. So it's going to be Ajax contact widget. Alright, and then we need another parameter here, which is going to be text domain. Now what this is for translations. Alright, so if you're using a different language, it allows you to translate it easily. So that's what this this whole thing is. Alright, so let's just give it a comment so we know what that is. The next thing we need is an array. Okay, and inside here I'm going to put in a description. And same thing, we're going to use that __ parentheses and put in a description. Ajax powered contact widget, and again we need to do that text domain. Alright, and I think that's good. Okay, so that's our constructor. Basically just defines the name, the ID, the description. Okay, so next is going to be the display. Okay, the front end display. Alright, and this is going to be public function widget. Wait a minute, we got out of the class here. Alright. So this is going to take a few parameters. It's going to take in our args, our arguments, and an instance variable. And we can see an example here in the API. Where is it? And actually, here's the construct which we just did. You can see you have the base ID, the widget title, the description. Okay, so now we're working down here on the display, which takes arguments and instance. Okay, so we want to get the title now. Let me just copy that. Okay, widget title, so that's actually good. We don't need to change that. Alright, the next thing that I want is the recipient. Okay, the recipient email address where the form should go to. And the webmaster is going to be able to go into the admin area and specify that in the widget. Okay, so recipient is going to equal, we're going to use our instance variable here. So instance recipient. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing for the subject, because we want the webmaster to be able to define what the subject of the email will be. Okay, subject, same thing. Here we're going to put subject. Alright, we'll clean that up a little bit. Okay, so next what we want to do is define anything. We want to be able to put something before and after the widget if we want, maybe a div with a class name, a heading, things like that. So in order for it to be able to do that, we want to echo args and before widget. Okay, and same thing after widget. We want to do that as well. So I'm just going to copy this. Basically just a placeholder for whatever you want to put before or after. Alright, so what do we want to display here? We want to display the title, but if the title is empty, we don't want to display it. Okay, so I'm going to say if, if not empty. Okay, we only want to display the title if it's not empty. Okay, title, which is coming from here, which is coming from the admin area of the widget. Okay, so if not empty title, then let's see, we don't need to do curly braces, we're just putting in one line here. Then we're going to echo args, just like you can do before widget and after widget, you can do before title and after title. Okay, so you have a lot of flexibility in terms of content display. Alright, and then we're going to say dot title, and then after title, and that should be good. Alright, so that'll take care of displaying the title. So the next thing we want is the contact form. Alright, but I don't want to put in a whole form block, HTML block, into this widget function. So what I'm going to do is create another function or method for that. Okay, so we'll say display form, and what we're going to do is just echo this, and then I'm going to create a method called getForm. Okay, and inside of that we want to pass in this recipient and subject. Okay, it's because we have to specify that in the form. So pass in recipient and subject. Alright, so that should be it. This should be over here. Alright, so that's it for our widget function. Of course, we got to create this get form, but aside from that, everything's there. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is create our backend form. Alright, and yeah, so let's do that. Alright, so it's going to be called public function form. Alright, and this is going to get passed in an instance. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is display the title. Okay, so we want to check and see if it's set. Okay, so we can say if is set instance title. Okay, then I'm going to say title is going to equal instance title. And then we're going to put an else. Okay, so what we're saying here is if it's not set, then what do we want to put? We want just the name of our widget. Okay, so title will then equal, and for the translation, we're going to do this double underscore thingy, and then pass in whatever we want the title to be. We'll say Ajax contact widget, and then we need that text domain. Alright, and then next, after the if statement, I'm going to grab these up here, the recipient and the subject, and then we're going to create our form. So I'm actually going to break out of PHP right here, and then after the form we'll go back in. Okay, so so all in between here is going to be the actual HTML of the form, and I'm going to just grab that and paste it in. Alright, so what do we have? We don't actually define the form tags or anything like that. We just want the inputs. So first we have a label for the title, and we can use this get field ID and then the name of the variable. Alright, so title, and then we're going to have the input with a class of wide fat. Alright, now that just pertains to the WordPress admin template. Alright, so you just want to add that class. You don't have to create this. This isn't a custom class that we create. And then the input ID is going to be title, and then the actual value, the name of the title, and then we have the value. Okay, and that's going to equal this title here, which is coming from the instance up here. Alright, and then the same thing, we're just having the recipient field and the subject field, okay, which the user fills in. Alright, so that takes care of the backend form display. Alright, so the next function or method that we want is update, and that pertains to if you go in the backend and you change the if you change the title or the recipient or the subject. Alright, this is going to get run. So just say update method. You should, if it's a production site, you should be more specific with your commenting. You should put in the arguments, things like that, the return value, but I'm not going to go through all that. Alright, so public function update. Okay, as far as parameters, we're going to pass in new instance. Okay, because if we update the form, we're basically going to get a new instance, and also the old instance. All right, and you can see an example of this on this API documentation. Okay, so right here we have an update, new instance, old instance. And basically, I'm just going to grab this. All right, now this from the WordPress documentation only has a title. All right, but we need a recipient and a subject field as well. So let me just copy this. And then right under it, paste it in twice. Okay, and we're just going to change these up to recipient. Just copy that. Okay, recipient, and then this one is going to be subject. Oh. Okay, so that should do it for our update form. And basically we're just calling this, we're wrapping it up in strip tags because we don't want HTML in these inputs. We don't want to have HTML tags. Alright, so the last function is our custom one. Okay, display contact form. If you remember, up here in our display function, we're calling this get form. Alright, so this is what we got to create. So let me just copy that and say public function get form, and that's going to be passed in the recipient and subject. And I'm just going to paste this in. Alright, so what's going on here is we're creating an output variable and we're setting it to the HTML of the form. So we have a div for the form messages that will be generated and then displayed with Ajax. Alright, and then we have the form with an ID of Ajax contact. It's a post form, and it's going to go to the mailer.php file. Alright, because we want all the fields that the user passes in, we want those to go to mailer, and then we can process the form and send it. So we just have our name. Okay, so we have a label for the name. The user can put first name or first and last, whatever. And then the email input, and you can see these are required. We're using this required tag. And then our message, okay, so the person can send a message. And we need to have the recipient and the subject. So what we're doing is passing them in with hidden values. Okay, so we have a name of recipient, name of subject, and then we're passing in recipient and subject, which come from here. Okay, which come from here. Okay, when we call the form. And then we're just simply returning the output string. Alright, so let's save that. And it's not finished yet, but let's see if it's displayed. Alright, so let's go to our WordPress backend and go to plugins. And you can see that our plugin is in here, Ajax Contact Widget. It has our description, it has the version, it has the author name, so that's pretty cool. It's not activated, So let's just go ahead and activate it. Okay, so plugin activated, didn't give us any trouble. Now if we go to appearance and then widgets, and I don't see it, which usually has to do with the register function. Register contact widget. Oh, this widget init is actually supposed to be widgets init, so we forgot the S. Okay, so let's save, and there it is, Ajax contact widget. Okay, so we can actually grab that, move it over to the primary sidebar, and you can see we now have our fields: title, recipient, subject. So let's put in a recipient. Subject, we'll say something like new contact, and save. Okay, so if we reload, it's still there. Okay, and when we click save, what it did was called the update function in our class, which is right here. All right, and this form, the backend form, is coming from this function form, and the front end is coming from this widget function. All right, so let's visit the front end. Okay, and there it is. Ajax contact widget has our fields, send button. Right now, it's not going to do anything. Okay, so it basically takes us to the mailer.php, which isn't the file's created, but we have nothing in it. So we're getting there. So the next thing we'll do is we want to create our Ajax code so that we can submit it to the mailer.php.